Good evening, viewers. Good evening to our panelists. Good evening to our special guest, the Honorable Juan Edghill, Minister of Works. The Guyana Dialogue is a program that is being sponsored by a group of Guyanese from the UK, Canada, United States, the Caribbean, and Guyana. This program is being funded by well-known businessman and philanthropist Dave Ryan of Dave West Indian Imports. Today, we are very pleased to have our special guest, the Honorable Minister of Works. He is probably one of the busiest government ministers. The budget was just passed in the Parliament today, and we'll try to see whatever information we can extract from him in relation to his portfolio, which is infrastructure, which includes bridges, roads, transport. So it's my pleasure now to introduce him. Everybody knows him. Prior to his becoming the Minister of Works, he was a junior finance minister. He also served as the chairman of the Ethnic Relations Commission, and I think he is a practicing missionary as well. So he wears many hats, a man with vast experience. So it's my pleasure now to introduce him and ask him to make a few introductory remarks before we start to ask him a few specific questions. Over now to our special guest, Bishop Juan A.
Well, good evening, Dr. Tara and my other colleagues joining me in this panel tonight. Greetings to all of your viewers and listeners. It's been a long day, and I'm glad that I can share these moments with you tonight. Over the last 2 weeks, the big focus in Guyana has been Budget 2023. Budget 2023, one of the largest budgets that we've ever seen in the history of Guyana, $782 billion, bringing accelerated development to the people of Guyana. Today, we were able to pass those appropriation bills, and so we are good for going. It's time for implementations. I don't think we have a whole lot of time right now for the talk, or as we would say in Guyana, the gap, the roadside gap. It's getting the stuff on the road, getting the implementation done. We got to build out the new schools. We got to build out the new hospitals. We got to build the new highways. We got to put in the ICT infrastructure. We got to advance agriculture. We got to advance ICT, tourism. We just got to do what we got to do. And of course, one of the big things that Budget 2023 spoke to as well is bringing to Guyana that dream that is close and dear to all of us, cheaper electricity. And Budget 2023 caters for that gas to energy project, which will significantly reduce the cost of electricity in Guyana and really put us on a better footing to advance agro-processing, light manufacturing, and really see diversification and value added in the various sectors in Guyana. So I'm happy to be a part of a great team that is pushing Guyana forward. President Ali and my other colleagues in the cabinet, Vice President Jagdeo, Prime Minister Phillips, Minister of Finance, and the ministers that control the various sectors. We're working as one team to build out Guyana and to make this Guyana a modern society, one that we all should be quite pleased and proud of. So I think that will be my mouthful as opening, but I'm certainly glad to be here with you on this program tonight, and will be available to answer any questions you may have, address any concerns to the best of my ability.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. With us as a panelist, we have Professor Maniram Budu, who is a former professor at University of Arizona, and to the left on is Dr. Ganga Ramdas, who's who was also the head of the Department of Economics and International Relations at Lincoln University, Pennsylvania. Both men have worked in substantial positions in Guyana before they emigrated. They also have vast experience. Both of them have traveled throughout the world in various countries in Latin America, Europe, etc. So we are very pleased to have them as well. Um, they're, if I can ask the technician to pull up that article, there's an art, as I mentioned, the Wesleyan newspaper is one of the most popular ethnic newspaper in New York. And they carry a story with you. Here is it. The headline reads, 1,200 community roads to be rehabilitated countrywide in 2023. And I don't want to read it, but you will tell us about that and some of the main roads that you're dealing with and what has been your success for the last year, like 2022, because it seems to us, based on feedback from the Guyanese people, especially in rural areas, they are very concerned about the state of their roads. And I myself went down there about 5 weeks ago, and I visited quite a few communities, and the roads are really in a bad state. So please give us an update what you're doing. I know you have done a terrific job so far, and we wish that we know that you will continue, but let's hear from you, your plan for the roads this year.
Well, I would want to begin by saying, since we are in government, between October 2020, when we got the 2020 budget, to date, when I reported to the National Assembly during my presentation to the budget debates of 2023, the Ministry of Public Works would have executed and constructed more than 1,053 roads. More than 1,053 roads. Currently, with the supplementary that I received as of November 2022, we have awarded more than 700 contracts, which would see more than 1,085 roads being executed under that supplementary provision that I received as of November 2022. Most of those projects have been rolled over. So in terms of my community roads program for this year, I have about $36 billion to do community roads. Some of that is to complete payments on the roads that would have been rolled over from that supplementary of November 2022. So we will have at least just over $15 billion to do new works that have not yet been awarded based upon the current budget, which will be able to give us probably another 800 roads. So when you put it together, between what we would have done October 2020 to the current time, 1,053, then we have another 1,085 that has been awarded, issuing some 700 contracts. And for the benefit of your listeners, a contractor may have a network of roads, which will mean you might be doing 4 or 5 roads in a particular village, a network. It's called a network. So we're not saying that every road has a different contract. One contractor may have a network. So you have 700 contracts, but you're doing about 1,085 roads. And that is being done in conjunction, and I need to emphasize this. This 1,085 roads that we are currently executing, they are roads that are being done in conjunction with the Ministry of Housing and Water, because, you know, a lot of the housing schemes have been built out. They have not yet been handed over to the NDCs. So those are some of the roads in those housing schemes. I could think about Parkville Harmony. I could think about Horstelling Farm. Those are some of the areas that we are building out roads in conjunction with the Ministry of Housing and Water, as well as in collaboration with the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development. It's a combined effort. So when you put together what we would have done already, what has been awarded in December of 2022 that has been rolled over to our 2023 project, and the monies that are currently available in the budget, which could see us doing about another 800 or so in our 3 years in office, we would have built out 3,000 community roads. And I want to emphasize, these are not referring to highways. This is not referring to farm to market access roads. This is not referring to roads in the urban centers, in the townships. And these are not referring to some of the infrastructural development that we are bringing and putting in 4 lanes and the rest of it. These are just what you call community streets. Some of these were dams where people were in mud forever. We have now been able to build rigid pavement, concrete roads. In Berbice, last year, we issued on one day 267 contracts. One day, 267 contracts. So we were able to get a lot of the local people to be involved in the construction, because these were mainly the concrete roads, building the concrete roads. So we were able to recruit local labor. So apart from improving infrastructure, we were also increasing employment and actually bringing economic empowerment to communities while we are doing infrastructural development. So it's a massive program that has been designed. The vision is a fantastic one. I salute President Ali and Vice President Jagdio, who's been following this infrastructural development closely and keenly, providing guidance. I've been placed here as the leader of the team at the Ministry of Public Works. I have my colleague, Minister Deodat Indar, who works in the ministry with me. And we have been seeking, with the help of our technical staff, bringing the communities together, engaging our development partners, which are the contractors, trying to hold their hands and show that Guyana's development is not stymied, but accelerated. And you will still tell me, Dr. Tara and my other colleagues here, that with all that we are doing, people still would ask when their road would be fixed. And that is to show the development deficit that existed. The development deficit that existed. Over the last 5 years of the APNU AFC, and I reported that to the National Assembly. You know where they concentrated fixing roads? In the towns, as if the villages did not exist. And one of the reasons why they worked in the towns is where they have their political support.
Yeah.
Georgetown, Bartica, Linden.
I just want to ask you this, based on the question of the allocation of contracts. There are some people, especially in the opposition, have been saying that there is discrimination. I know a group of Afro-Guyanese entrepreneurs met with you, and they were asking how they could be involved in the contracting process. You want to tell us a little about that?
Well, let me address the issue of discrimination. What is actually happening is that the APNU AFC and their surrogates, whether they exist in New York or here in Guyana, they're really admiring us, but they're admiring us awkwardly. The fact of the matter is, you could travel any part of Guyana. There are 70 local authority areas, what we call NDCs, and there are 10 municipalities and towns. So when you combine the two together, there are 80 local authority areas, 70 NDCs and 10 municipalities. In every one of those areas, and I literally mean that, in all 80 of those areas, infrastructural work, roads are being developed. I can give you an example. In Linden alone, last year, we did 26 roads. The 26 roads that we did in Linden was more than what the APNU AFC did in 5 years. We spent $1.3 billion worth of road development in Region 10 last year. We're getting ready to go with another 30 roads in Linden, Region 10, in 2023. We're getting ready to go with about another 30 roads in Sophia. These are areas that people from Guyana that are listening, they understand when you say Linden, what you're talking about, Sophia, what you're talking about. These are areas that didn't necessarily vote PPPC. I have just completed the entire road network in Little Africa. That's in the quarantine. Dr. Tara, you will probably be able to tell your viewers more about Little Africa. We've done the same thing in Little India. As a matter of fact, tomorrow I'm traveling to Little Africa. I'm going to join His Excellency, the President, out there. While we were there fixing the road, inspecting the roads that were fixed, the people came and complained about the lady who had a handicapped husband and the condition of their living. We were able, through the Men on a Mission and a collaborative effort, to build them a new house. Tomorrow morning, we're handing that house over to them by 8 o'clock. And that's the kind of work that we have been doing. So whether it's BV, whether it's Buxton, whether it's Anns Grove, whether it's Victoria, whether it's Denamstel, whether it's Virgin Nugent, you name the village, across the length and breadth of Guyana, we are building roads. Plaisance, where the leader of the opposition lives, his street is being fixed right now. So when you hear people shallowly saying discrimination, what they're actually saying, if we don't quench this fire, if we don't try to hide this light, if we don't try to dim this blaze, this thing is catching on. People's lives are being made better, so they have to find a reason to poke and to create suspicion in the minds of people. It is not anything that is found in fact or in reality. It is just hot air. Now, as it relates to contractors, there's a procurement act in Guyana. If I'm going to go out like I've been doing, we got to advertise these roads. If you check the newspapers, you would see last week, I think we advertised about 30 projects. This week, Sunday coming out, you might see another 20 or so, and that's how it goes. You keep advertising, and people have to bid. Nobody has an entitlement because I'm Afro-Guyanese, I have to get work, or I'm Indo-Guyanese, I have to get work, or because I'm a mixed Guyanese. You have to be in the system. You have to buy the documents, you have to put in your proposals, your bids have to be evaluated. And when I met with the Black entrepreneurs not so long ago, we had a very intelligent and informed conversation, and we agreed that we're going to hold their hands, keep a special session to teach them how to bid, make them more aware of the Procurement Act, ensure they understand getting their compliances of both GRA and as well as NIS, bringing them into administrative and building their technical capacity and helping them to produce bids that could win and that they could get work. But while we are doing that, we have developed what America used to call years ago, I don't hear it too much these days, affirmative action. Like, for example, we went into Buxton. The people there said they weren't getting work. I asked all the contractors in Buxton to meet me. We went there a Sunday afternoon after church. I went to church, then I went down there at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, sat with them, listened to them, show them what they need to do to get into the system. And while they're getting themselves organized, using the community project approach, we issued 25 contracts for the building of 25 bridges in Buxton, while they're getting themselves organized and situated. Now, the likes of those surrogates who sit in New York and hold their spew hate, and those in the opposition who try to, they're admiring you, but they can't actually say we admire what you're doing. They have to find a reason to poke at it and to create mischief. They will never talk about that. We went to Victory Valley in Linden. The president went there on a visit. The people said this was what they wanted. We went back into Victory Valley. and issued contracts to the people in Victory Valley in a community project. For Christmas, we put $84 million worth of work in Region 10. Just for the month of December. That's apart from the 26 roads that we would have done, spending about $1.3 billion. So where is the discrimination? You know what they will call the discrimination? They will say, well, okay, you built 30 or 40 roads in Linden, but you did 300 in Berbice. That might sound sensational, but just think about the land space, the geographical layout, the terrain of Region 6 versus Region 10. How the people live. And then you will get an appreciation. So sometimes they make these numbers and they use these things in their talk shows, and the person who's not fully acquainted, when you look at the dollar value as well as the population, and you compare it with the geographical layout, then you will be able to appreciate that there's no discrimination. Development is taking place all across Guyana. We are spending $190 million US. The largest infrastructural project currently being undertaken is being undertaken in Region 10. The build out of the road from Linden to Mabura Hill. It's in Region 10, $190 million. To date, the largest infrastructural project that is being undertaken by the government of Guyana.
Thank you, Bishop. I now pass you on to Professor Buru. Your question to the Minister.
Minister Edghill, the last time you were on this show, we talked about contractors' non-performance and inferior works. This has continued. What are the reasons for this continuous transgressions? And what solutions do you have in place or plan to have in place for these transgressions?
For non-performing contractors? That was the question, yes. Professor?
Yeah.
You know, in Guyana, we have a saying, you bite more than you can chew.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have a lot of people who didn't take time to grow. And they want to get into the big league. And some of them actually bid, and they come in very low. And when they're starting to execute the job, then they recognize, hey, I can't really make it with this price. You won the bid because you came in lower than the others. But at the time of execution, they're incapable of carrying it out. And it's biting more than they could chew. And we have to be open. We have to be very frank. We are making way for all the people of Guyana to participate. We can't lock the door to anybody. But if you're going to take a contract, you're going to sign on the dotted line, you got to deliver what you say you're going to deliver with the quality that we expect you to deliver within the time frame and within the price. And that's the reality. You would have seen me on the streets, getting out, inspecting these projects. And that's my style of work. And let me just say, when I get out in the streets and I am dealing with contractors, it's no intent to embarrass anybody. Trust me, anytime you see me on a project site and I've taken drastic action, whether it's to order the termination or to give deadlines to people, it's because we would have had several meetings in office already. And having those meetings, getting poor performance letters, receiving caution. You cannot allow lawlessness and recklessness to continue. And I take a very firm stand where this is concerned.
So, Minister, why does it rise to your level? Why not at the project engineer level to terminate these contracts?
The poor performance level letters will come at the engineer's level, at the project management level. And then in our weekly or monthly project review, the engineers will tell me, Minister, we're not getting along, getting this project along. Sometimes we call them to my office. What's the problem? We're not getting materials. I will call suppliers and arrange for them to get stone, to get sand, to get loom, whatever it is. And still sometimes they don't execute the job in a timely manner.
Mm-hmm. Mr. When the contractor is given say millions of dollars for mobilization and fails to start the project or even abandon the project, what recourse do you have to recoup
Well,
at least the mobilization costs?
in order for somebody to get a mobilization advance, that mobilization advance is secured by way of a bond from an insurance company or a bank. A mobilization advance is basically a loan that you're getting to start up, involuntary loan that you're getting to start up your project, to get yourself organized, to get it done. But that is secured. The contractor must supply a bond from an insurance company or from a bank. So when you fail to do that, we pull the bond. The bank or the insurance company have to stand up and repay that on the behalf of that contractor. So then they have to deal with that contractor.
So how long this process takes, to get, and I'm sure the government has to spend some money also to recoup.
In terms of recouping
Yeah.
The bond? Well, it will be a process, of course, but that's the risk that you have to take in terms of getting projects going. In every project, even with the major projects that we're having, whether it's the building of the bridge, building of new buildings, everybody receive mobilization advances. So it's not just the small contractors.
Can I ask a quick question here, Minister? You said your ministry signed a number of contracts. Do you have any data about how many of these contractors failed? What percentage failed?
Oh, very, very small percentage. Very, very small percentage. The very, very small percentage. Listen, we have no desire to make a contractor fail. As a matter of fact, some of the contractors who are struggling, I've said to my engineering team, go out there, hold their hands, teach them, improve them. We can't do this alone. Contractors are our development partners. There must be no fighting between the engineers and the project management team and the contractor. We help them along. Their success is our success.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Ganga.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Tara. Colleagues, nice to see all of you here. Our listeners, welcome. Nice to see you, and we wish Shamisa speedy recovery. Now, this panel is discussing roads in the context of transportation. Now, transportation is also a much wider set of activities. We have our 4 roads, as Bishop Edghill has mentioned, the main road or local roads. You have housing scheme roads, then you have highways, and then you have farm roads. His emphasis, of course, was on the local roads or community roads. Now, in the context of transportation, we have cost factors, resource use factors, sand and stone, we all know that. And of course, the environmental impact. So all of these things have to be taken together and then look at how traffic flows are generated. If you build, let's say, a new city, you will have another layer of traffic flows. Now, I looked for vehicles registration to see what volume of vehicles are on our roads, and I could not find that in the Statistical Bureau's annual report, nor in the Bank of Guyana table that we used to maintain new vehicles registration. It's not there.
We could find that easily from the GRA.
Okay. So what I did was I looked at the national accounts value-added activities in transportation and storage, and it looks like we had like a doubling up to 2021 and probably surpassing a doubling of the traffic flows on our roads. The percentage between 2015 and 2021 increased by 36%. That's the volume of activities as measured in the GDP. And then from 2012 to 2021, 46%. So there is no doubt, as we can see visibly, physically, the volume of traffic on our roads. Now, given this increase, especially when we had trains and boats. Now we don't have those. The logical question is what transportation modes to use our roads are on the drawing board. And the next logical question is, do we need public transportation to deal with this increased volume of traffic on our roads? There could be a lot more questions, but these are the main ones that we need to start thinking. What's on the drawing board when it comes to other modes of transportation? And the big question is, do we need public transportation? So how you see that?
There will always be need for public transportation, and as the minister responsible for transportation, because I have the responsibility for that sector, whether it's air, land, or maritime transportation. The issue that we must confront is that we have made vehicle ownership more affordable. So it takes about 6 months now to change a series, which means 10,000 vehicles. So you're bringing in about registering about 10,000 vehicles every 6 months. So we have made vehicle ownership more accessible because of our massive housing development. People are not living congested anymore. Mother-in-law, daughter-in-law, son-in-law, wife, children, branch, it's not in the same house anymore. People are having their own family units. And in the development of these housing areas that have been established, some of them are very deep into areas where it used to be cane fields, where it used to be swamplands. If you've been following what is happening in Guyana, the whole of Diamond, Farm, Horstelling, Park Fair, Harmony, Tushen, Zealot, number 75, 77 in the Berbice and LBI success was happening on the East Coast. So we have more housing units, we have more vehicles. So what we are doing, we are putting in more lanes of traffic. For example, number one, we are addressing the traffic congestion and transportation accessibility and time spent delay in traffic by putting in the new 4-lane high-span Demerara Harbor Bridge. That is a contract that is being executed right now. So that traffic buildup from west side to east side or east side to west side every morning and every afternoon will be eased by having a 24-hour bridge that will be able to be used by road users, and the river remains accessible 24 hours for ships as well, because it's going to be a high-span bridge. That's part of our manifesto promise. We are fulfilling that. We are now developing what is called 4-lane highways. What we used to call a public road is a 2-lane road, and if one man stopped to put up somebody, everybody else behind have to wait. That was good enough when you had 8 cars, but now when you have 8,000 cars moving every hour in a particular direction. So we're putting in more lanes. Let me explain. On the east coast of Demerara, heading east, right now, we are where the railway line used to be, we have executed a contract of converting that into a 4-lane road all the way to Orange Nassau into the Mahaika area. We have upgraded the East Coast already to 4 lanes, and where we had stopped at Belfield, we're developing from Belfield to Orange Nassau in this same contract. We're putting a bridge across the Hope Canal. So while you're driving the railway embankment and you reach the Hope Canal, you don't have to come out to the main road. We are bridging the Hope Canal. So you'll be able to continue all the way into Orange Nassau. The road from Palmyra to Molson Creek, that's the East Berbice Road. Berbice, we're building out. The oil refinery is going to be out there. We're putting a stadium out there. We're putting hotels out there, housing development, the deep water harbor, and we're linking it with a bridge across the Quarantine River. So that Quarantine Highway that used to be a narrow road, we now have 99 structures that are being expanded to accommodate 4 lanes of traffic. So the quarantine highway is moving from 2 lanes to 4 lanes. The West Demerara, where there's congestion, we're building a new 4 lane from Schoonard all the way to Parika. And while we're getting that done, we're putting in, which President Ali himself went out and initiated, that bypass road from Crane to Schoonard, so you could get to the access to the Demerara Harbor Bridge without having to go through the bottleneck at Vredenhoek. We have just received approval and we're out at the procurement stage for the upgrade of the road from Grove to Tamiri. The IDB is putting in about 100 million US dollars. The road from the Soesdijk, Linden, the Soesdijk area all the way up, down the Soesdijk Linden Highway into Linden, we have received funding through the Islamic Development Bank, and we're upgrading that road, widening it with 2 roundabouts for the ease of traffic flow. So if you look, whether it's the east, the west, or you go to the interior, it's the same thing that is happening. We are building out better infrastructure for easier accessibility to people to live, to work, to conduct business. We're reducing traffic time, and we're giving people more time to spend with family through our highway and roads network. So while we're building out the roads in the communities, we're also making it easy for people to move from one point to the other point and to be able to work, commute, go to school, get back home. Our secondary school children must be able to get back home every day, because the secondary schools are not in every village. The primary schools will be in every village, but the secondary schools are in catchment areas. So we are very concerned about the travel time, and we are putting in that road network to be able to do that. We eventually have to examine the issue of light rail, trams, and these are not things that we are closing our eyes to. Remember, President Ali is an urban planner. His doctorate is in urban planning, and these are things that we've been discussing. And we got to answer the present demand while we do long-term futuristic planning. So yes, the master planning for the modernization of Guyana will include other forms of transportation, including aggressive and well orchestrated public transportation systems.
There's no doubt that the 4-lane solution would help in the traffic flows, in regulating that. I would also like to add to that, in terms of management of the flows, 2 suggestions: park and ride for some travelers. Park, so we need to make spaces, accommodation for that.
We eventually will have to put in high occupancy vehicle lanes as a priority lane for people who are sharing and things like that. High occupancy vehicles, buses, and so on, and people who park and ride. Yes, that's something that we're looking at.
And this is something that we actually, my father actually experienced. It's the time of night or time of day delivery of sand. We operated 3 sand trucks, so I understood what they did so as not to get locked down in the traffic. So time of night, time of day could also be managed so that we ease the congestion.
But the sand trucks are mainly doing their rounds now in the dark of night, while the volume of traffic is not that hectic on the road.
Yes, that's in self-interest. It works.
All right, Minister. $5 billion were allocated for hinterland development or Amerindian development.
We have to say hinterland roads, not
Hinterland road. Okay.
Just roads. 5 billion.
Does the 5 billion include in your total budget of 136 billion this year?
Yes.
And what are the areas you plan for hinterland development?
Regions 1, 7, 8, and 9, and some parts of 10. Comprises our hinterland roads. In our manifesto, we made a commitment that we will do 2,000 kilometers of road. I'm happy to report to you and all your viewers and listeners, we've already exceeded that target. We've already done more than 2,000 kilometers. What we're doing now in the townships, we're expanding the rigid pavement concrete roads. We want to be able to move from fair weather roads to roads that are more durable, that can last the weather when we have the rainy season. And I also need to let you know that one of the main used networks or arteries or roads, which is the Linden to Lethem Road, all the bridges, 45 bridges currently are awarded to be built over from wood into concrete bridges, satisfying international standards, concrete bridges. So our hinterland program continues. We are issuing community contracts to the communities to link the roads village to village. The long hauls, the 60 kilometers and the 150 kilometers of road, which can be given to the communities. We are awarding those to contractors with a capacity to be able to open up those roads and be able to keep accessibility. We are continuing with the asphaltic concrete roads, kilometer by kilometer, bringing improvement to the lives of the people. So yes, we are continuing that in regions 1, 7, 8, 9, and parts of 10.
Is there any plan for water transport?
Water transport is one of the major forms of transport in Guyana. Whether it is the Parika Supanam, Parika Bartika, Parika Legwan, Parika Wakenam, whether it's the Georgetown Vredenhoek, whether it's the Berbice River, whether it's down the rivers in the Pomeroon, water taxis are a great part of our transportation network.
Okay.
More and more people are applying for license to operate these water taxis.
I want to bring to your attention, I don't know if adequate safety measures are taken, because there was an incident happened in the Damar River where the boat cranked out in the middle, and the guy, his spear engine was not working. He couldn't communicate with anybody, and everybody was panicking. The story was covered by Jailal, the columnist. And I had sent a copy of that to you to look at it, because the guy said you had a few life jackets, but they were derelict in a bad situation. I mean, a major disaster could have happened had it not been for a boat that was empty, was passing by. He rescued the 35 passengers on board. So I think one of the things that I'm sure you're considering is that these boats that ply must have adequate safety measures on board.
Well, the Maritime Administration Department, MARAD, which falls under me as well, they would have bought thousands of life jackets and given it to the commercial operators, the captains and the sailors of these boats that apply water taxis. While the owners of the boats are supposed to put in place the safety vests, we have gone ahead in the interest of safety and in the interest of the value we place on people's lives. They have bought the life vests and they have distributed it. Now, we have to develop a culture where people want to use the life vests, because some people believe that they could manage on their own. And we also have placed monitors at all of the loading points to ensure that no boat departs without the passengers properly fitted with life vests. So we have been making steps towards improving safety. We have examined the boats. The captains, they all have to be licensed on a yearly basis. They are examined. The boats of themselves are examined for seaworthiness or riverworthiness to ensure that they could operate. I guess we have to do more, but a lot of the times when we have difficulties as it relates to what happens in the rivers, it's not just the engine conking out, or as they would say in colloquial language, because when the engine conk out, most of the guys who operate the boats, they also can fix the engine. And even if you drift for a couple of minutes, somebody's coming nearby to help you to fix. It's the accidents that happen. When they seek to operate in the night and they hit into rocks or into a log, or when there's carelessness and two boats collide, that's where the difficulties have been.
Okay, thank you. Another quick question before I pass you on to Professor Boudou. These community roads, are you installing bumps, speed bumps?
Most of them, yes.
All right, Dr. Boudou.
Most of them, yes.
Professor
And it's
Boudou.
unfortunate that we have to do that.
Okay, Minister Edghill, you have described some of the many infrastructure projects you have going, roads, bridges, and you've also mentioned some of the economic development as a result, like housing and so on. I know everybody has their own idea what Guyana should or should not have, apart from what you have said. Do you have any national standards and national codes, and more importantly, a master transportation plan?
We have regulations. Some of these regulations need to be more updated. And I have various teams that are looking, whether it's regulations that control the aviation sector, regulations that control the maritime sector, regulations that engage road users. And these regulations move from weight limits, speed limits. We have gone to the parliament and we have made drunk driving something that no one would want to be found in. We have even made it a crime for the owner of the bar who sell the liquor and allow the person to drive to be charged. So we are updating our laws, we are updating our legislation. As it relates to our national master plan for transportation, I would say that the document would not be a complete document at this time, but I can assure you that every one of us in the cabinet, we are fully aware, we are fully apprised, we are fully confident of what we want our transportation network to look like. And that is because we've been listening to the people, we've been taking in their suggestions, we've been understanding their challenges, and we've been working with them to ensure that that happens. The last thing we want is failure. You know, the people, we went out in a outreach, Vice President Jadeo led an outreach, and we were in the West Berbice, and the people said they wanted the water taxis to get the children back across the Berbice River as against having to go around the bridge, which was costlier. In a matter of days, we were able to put the water taxis back into service where the children and the pensioners travel for free. And they operate within hours to facilitate our children going to school, getting home from school, our pensioners going out to do business and coming back home. But remember, our transportation plan is not just an urban plan, because we still have to get our roads connected and our people connected in Region 7. We are building out the road that links Region 4 to Region 7, which is the Sand Hills to Bartica Road. We're building out the road that links Region 3 to Region 7, which is from Parika to Goshen. We have built the new road from Ichuni into Takama. That is to be able to help us with our agricultural development and what we're doing there with corn and soya. We're building the road from Oriala all the way to Kukwani, and that is to link Region 6 and Region 10, and also to ensure that the quarrying properties at the back there are adequately developed and we can get aggregate for development of Guyana. So it's a massive network of the building out of infrastructure for roads and bridges, not just to facilitate commute of people, but to facilitate trade, to facilitate commerce, to facilitate housing development, to facilitate tourism, to facilitate agricultural development. And we have to link Guyana, being that hub that will link the Caribbean and South America. The bridges and roads, we must be able to get into Brazil. So we must be able to move from Brazil, French Guyana, Suriname, Guyana, down the Linden Latham Road into Brazil, from one part of Brazil into another part of Brazil. And that link has been clearly established. President Ali has been speaking about this. Our air link, linking the Caribbean with South America and other parts of the world in terms of our tourism product, is advancing. Our rivers and our waterways, ensuring that our agricultural products could get to the Caribbean, cutting the agricultural import bill into the Caribbean by 25% by 2025. It means that our agricultural products, because we are going heavy, must be able to move by air, and the ones that can move by water in bulk be able to get to the various destinations. So there's a massive build out and layout of what is taking place.
Yeah, but Minister, what you saying there is very exciting, and I'm sure all the ministers are aware of that. But I believe that the public need to see this on a master plan to show that the thought process, right, and what is going to happen with all the transportation system in there and the economic benefit that will derive from that. And a plan showing that and show all where the housing scheme is going to be developed and all commercial will go a lot as messaging to the people.
Yes.
Because if it just comes from a minister, you, for example, or a minister, is not enough. I think you have to have that messaging where you see a plan. What these guys are going to be doing. I think that will help in people to understand what you have the government is planning and is doing.
I mean, the minister clearly articulated what should be in the plan, the rationale, but it's just that Professor Boodoo is asking it for being a plan, in a master plan, so anybody can have a look, the public, etc.
Yes. Well, what we're developing as a government is what we may want to call our National Development Master Plan. We're putting in new schools, new hospitals, linking all 200 plus Amerindian villages with ICT infrastructure, building out a maternal and child health specialty hospital, putting in more hotels to ensure we have more than 2,000 rooms, to make Guyana convention destination, plantation type agriculture being encouraged in various regions so that we be able to get the people there and get the crops to the market. It's a massive plan that also includes allowing 50,000 more Guyanese families to be able to get their own lands, to build their own homes in various regions across the country. And we have to be able to put in the network of roads to get them home, get them to hospital, get them to school, get them to the universities, get them to the marketplace. So it's a massive plan that is being constructed. So it's not just roads, but it's a national development master plan. And in that, it also includes Silico City, building out the new Silico City on the Linden-Soos Dyke Highway as well.
Is that any part of that has been incorporated in the 1994 National Development Strategy? I think the government is still guided by that to a large extent. It just need to be updated if that's the case. But I think the need of what you have said, you clearly articulated what should be in the plan, the reason, etc. But I think what is important is that what Professor Boodoo is saying, if you get this in document, at least
that would be soon. He will get a document. Document is coming out soon.
All right.
The experts are doing the write-up.
Okay.
We are clear about what we want.
Okay.
People put it on paper, visualize it, and make it appreciative to the ordinary man. Yeah. That's a work in progress.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And once you get in a coherent document, you can pull the various strands together and make it in you can weave it, a warp, and weave it into a beautiful fabric. Now, Dr. Ganga, your last question, as we run out of time to
Yes,
in the
okay.
next.
So, Minister, one of the areas that I've been looking at that seems to need more attention is contractor regulation. We need to make sure that our minimum standards are observed, especially in road building. If they're building a corduroy road in the interior, that should also have some standards because heavy trucks will be running on those roads. If they're doing in the city roads, they should not substitute patchwork for repair work. And then they should look at the depth that they are considering from the base foundation up to the asphalt. In 1996, I wrote about this on Main Street. They were building a road, you doing patchwork, and the tools they were using was substandard. It's like old mayor and town council tools, old rollers to put asphalt on Main Street. And pretty soon, you know what would happen? It will flake out and go into the drains. So our minimum standards must be upheld and kept, especially for roads. There were not too encouraging pictures that I saw in the newspapers. The roads just wash out or crack and then fall apart. So our standards needs to be looked at. Those are my concerns, and you might comment a little on that. Thank you.
So, Dr. Tari, you want me to address that?
Yeah, if you can, yeah.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the comment and the suggestions that have been made. One of the things that we'll be taking to the National Assembly at the appropriate time, based upon our legislative agenda, that because we had a number of priority bills that we had to get out of the way, is the engineer's bill as well as the architect's bill. Those are two areas that we have to address. We have a challenge in Guyana because of where our roads are located. A lot of our roads are located, and on both sides of that road are drains or canals. Those roads, when they were initially built, we didn't envisage trucks 80 tons and 100 tons running on them. So we've had some roads that have had slippage to the canals and the drains. The design department of the Ministry of Public Works have been able to study this. We have started to introduce geocells and geofabric. I've heard Mr. Patterson talking about the price of construction of roads have gone up. And what he's not saying is that we are using superior technology. We are using geocells as well as geofabric, which is costly to be able to contain those roads. Because if you have to do revetment along all of those canals and drains to be able to keep a road from slipping, the cost of the revetment will be about 8 times the cost of the road. So we've had to introduce technology. There was a time in Guyana, and I heard a distinguished gentleman, when we didn't have the kind of machinery, we didn't have the kind of expertise. Guyana was all battered. 1996 is just coming out 92 from the return to democracy, where Guyana was not even able to borrow anything. The times have changed. You look around Guyana now, we have the capacity, the rollers, the excavators, the graders, the equipment for construction. The methodology that is being used today, even for pile driving, is totally different. Digging of foundations and casting of foundations, the technology has advanced. We are in the modern era. People are no longer just building a 1-story or 2-story building. It's now 12 stories, 10 stories. That's where we are. That's the reality of Guyana. So yes, we have to be able to put in minimum standards, whether they be electrical standards. We have the government electrical inspectorate that enforce those standards. We have to be able to get technical standards as it relates to the engineering and architectural designs and the rest of it. So yes, we are moving in that direction. Thank you for the comment and the observation.
Yeah. Thank you, Honorable Bishop. About our time, but before we end this discussion, we'd like you to make a 2 minutes summary of your presentation tonight.
Well,
your future.
I can say a couple of things. Number one, to all of your viewers and listeners, especially those in the diaspora, the PPPC administration might not be perfect, but I have always been saying we are good for Guyana. We are a group of people that are open to ideas, suggestions, and criticisms, and our heart is in the right place, and that is to modernize and transform this country. Our vision is clear. The leadership that we are receiving from President Ali and our Vice President, it's clear leadership. There's no ambiguity. There's no confusion. We understand what we're seeking to do for Guyana. We have to modernize this country. We got to build it out now, but we can't use up everything now. We got to also deal with the future. So we are making choice and strategic decisions. And sometimes it might appear to some people, let's do this now. But we have to consider all the other factors. We have to improve salaries. We have to improve the infrastructure. We got to take care of health care. We have to ensure that people in Guyana must get world-class health care right here in Guyana. We have to improve education. We have to be able to build out skill sets. We have to be able to empower Guyanese to be able to partake in the new and emerging industries, including oil and gas and the rest of it. So we are making careful decisions, and the moves that we're making are very strategic. Sometimes it may not always be understandable at the moment, but we will be able to show you over time how this will benefit Guyana. For example, the investment in the gas to shore to ensure we have gas to energy, bringing down the cost of electricity, continuing the pursuit of a mile to ensure we have hydroelectric power, cheap, reliable, and renewable electricity, building out renewables with solar, establishing new economies and using the resources from our oil to build out and strengthen agriculture. Agriculture will be here long after oil is no longer here. So I think we are making some very informed strategic choices and decisions, and we want the partnership with the people in terms of, one, their understanding, and two, their cooperation. And we are doing all of this in the face of sometimes hostile opposition, very difficult circumstances, but with God's help and with your support, we'll get to where we should be together.
Would you like to address very quickly the claim from opposition sources that contracts award in particular has been discriminatory? Quickly,
I think I dealt with that a little earlier when I spoke about the Procurement Act, how we're engaging the Black entrepreneurs, what we did in Buxton, the roads that are being done in all the local authority areas, and people who are applying for jobs got to follow the procurement law. And I think we eventually will be able to give statistics of how many Afro-Guyanese contractors got work, of how many Indo-Guyanese contractors got work. But when bids are being evaluated, the race of a person is not before the evaluators. It's the submissions that have been made on the document that is there. And I can tell you, in our ministry, there is a fair share, and I would say a very fair share, of Afro-Guyanese contractors who are engaged in projects and winning contracts here.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister of Works. I know you've been busy, and we are very much happy to have you there. You have cleared a lot of issues that was hanging in people's mind. From the debate, you can get a lot of information, but sometimes the heckling and these things cause a lot of people not even to watch the proceedings. Anyhow, I want to thank the two panelists, Professor Manuram Budu and Dr. Ganga Ramdas, as usual. And to all our viewers, I want to thank you and thank Dave Narayan for funding this weekly program, which is sponsored by Guyanese in the UK, United States, Canada, the Caribbean, and Guyana. Thank you very much. Have a pleasant weekend. God bless. Thank you,
gentlemen,
Bishop.
and blessings to all of your viewers and listeners.
Thank you, Minister Bishop.
Okay,
you,
panelists, see you
sir.
all. Bye.